Oklahoma's superintendent of public schools wants the Bible to be taught in history. Hmm. So now, this is the superintendent of the entire state of Oklahoma and their education system, Ryan Walters. Now, Ryan Walters is an interesting person. He has spread some interesting conspiracy theories. For example, litter boxes in schools. There are no litter boxes in schools for students that identify as cats. That's just inherently, the entire conspiracy theory is inherently transphobic, for one. And again, it's just not true, but we've seen that lie go out everywhere. And partly thanks to libs of TikTok, Hi Reichik. So, not true. But this guy, who's in office, is like, oh yeah, we're going to crack down on the litter boxes. Hoo boy. Now, he also is no friend, again, to the LGBTQ plus community. As I just mentioned, being transphobic, also removing books that have LGBTQ plus themes from school libraries. He's also, by the way, not a fan of the teachers' unions because he referred to them once as terrorists. Yes, that's right. Educating kids to this guy means you're a terrorist. Wow. Now, when running for his current office, Walters said that he wanted teachers to undergo patriotic education offered by a conservative Christian college because our students are not taught by history, but instead are taught indoctrination. Instead, taught that this country is an evil place full of bigoted racists. No. This country is not an evil place filled with bigoted racists. There are bigoted racists in it. But generally, the people in this country are good people. And the history of this country is filled with a lot of bad stuff and a lot of good stuff. Things that actually happen that in order to do good stuff and to atone from the mistakes for the past, the bad stuff, you actually have to teach people about it. But of course, you can tell there are people out there like Walters who think we can't teach about the bad stuff because we actually like that stuff. We don't think it's bad at all. So now, what does this have to do with the Bible? Well, Walters, part of the patriotic education is bringing back the Bible. In fact, I'm going to show you what he says in his own words.
When it comes to our schools, do we want the radical ideology into our classroom that pushes gender theory, that pushes graphic pornography in order to perform a social experiment on our kids? Or do we want the U.S. Constitution? Do we want documents like the Federalist Papers and the Bible so that our kids understand our history and how our government was put together? Those core fundamental principles that have made us the greatest country in the history of the world. Real Americans know that we've got to support our kids by giving them a great understanding of our history. Radical leftists in the Biden administration, they would prefer to sexualize our kids.
Wow. So, now look, we know this is classic projection, right? How dare you indoctrinate students? We will now indoctrinate our students. Wait, what? What? Wow. Okay, wow. And also, as some of you point out, wait, real Americans? What are you talking about? We're real Americans. What is this? So there are layers of awfulness for this person. So now that said, the nonsense idea of, oh, the Biden administration wants to sexualize the children, again, is just complete and utter ridiculousness. I'm not even going to spend a whole lot of time on that because let's talk about something different. The right loves to say that we love the Constitution. We know the Constitution. Oh, liberals, they hate the Constitution. No, you hate the Constitution. If you read it for a second, you would know. It's in the First Amendment. There's the Establishment Clause. You know what it does? It prohibits the establishment of a religion by the government. The government runs the schools, Okay. That means you can't bring religion into the schools. That you can talk about, this is what this person believes. This is what, this religion believes. That's totally fine because that's educational. But when it goes into, let me just say that I don't believe that if this guy brings the Bible into school, he's going to say, well, this is what this Christian doctrine, and it was established by this year and this day. No, they're going to be like, Jesus is the one. He's the savior of all mankind. No, that's what they're going for. Literal indoctrination. Now, here's the thing. The Constitution, as he mentioned, is already being taught in schools. I mean, I remember learning about it in school. I mean, it's in the schools. Who took the Constitution out of the schools? Please tell me. Please tell me. Nobody. It's still there. Now, the Bible is not in schools, and it shouldn't be in schools because it is a religious text. And by the way, under their own ideas, under their own definition of pornography, right? Because again, people like Walters are going around saying there's so much, we got to get the pornography, we got to get the pornographic materials out of the schools. Let me see. You see that? You see that? It's all in there. It's in there. We got to get rid of it. We got to take it out. Okay, well, the very book that you want to bring in also has pornographic themes. For example, the Bible contains stories of incest, bestiality, prostitution, genital mutilation, fellatio, sex toys, rape, infanticide, all that stuff in the Bible. The book also contains passages supporting slavery and advocating for the murder of LGBTQ plus people and women who have premarital sex. So I don't know. It seems weird that you want this in the schools. I mean, and then pretending that you're doing it because you want a real education. No. The Bible also has a story about two daughters who get their dad drunk in order to have sex with them and become impregnated. And the Bible also mentions a woman who fondly remembers her lover as having a, quote, penis like a donkey and a flood of semen like a horse.
Sexual anarchy.
I mean,
testicles. Tighten up my meat.
That's in the Bible.
Tallywhacker.
I'm just saying. It's there. It's there. Hey, but that is okay. But books like And Tango Makes Three, story about penguins, two male penguins raising a third baby penguin. That's inappropriate. That's what Republicans say do not belong in our schools. One of the books that they tried to ban. Okay, then. Wow. But here's the thing, right? The right wing keeps conflating on purpose sexualization and gender identity and orientation. Okay? Those are different things. Gender identity is not sexualization. Having an orientation is also not sexualization. Now, a good example of that is when Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt accused the state's PBS TV station of indoctrination and overt sexualization of kids because a child's cartoon featured a lesbian character. Ooh, wow. Stitt also signed an anti-trans and possibly unconstitutional bathroom bill in 2022, and recently signed a bill making it a felony for a doctor to provide gender-affirming care to trans youth, putting trans children, of course, in danger. Now, getting back to Walters, who works for Stitt. In early April, he announced rules banning pornographic material and sexualized content from public school libraries, which, of course, does not involve the Bible, but instead 190 LGBTQ plus titles. The new school rules Walters introduced in April would also have required schools to notify a student's parent if the student mentioned wanting to change their pronouns or gender identity. Now, it turns out some of these rules unenforceable, according to the state's own Republican Attorney General. This is Gentner Drummond, who issued a binding opinion voiding Walter's new rules as unenforceable because the state legislature hadn't authorized any state agency to create new rules on banning books or notifying parents about gender identity. But I'm sure Republicans in Oklahoma are, working up to that, creating whole new bureaucracies, big government, if you will, with the sole purpose of, basically eliminating LGBTQ plus people from society, at least in Oklahoma. That's generally the whole thing that we are seeing. Big government. I remember when Republicans used to rail against big government, and now they're creating the biggest government of all. The ones that get into your personal life. And now Stitt had appointed Walters as his state's education secretary in 2020. And while serving in that post, Walters received approximately $120,000 in annual pay to serve as the executive director of Every Kid Counts Oklahoma. Funny how they go by that name and push explicitly anti-trans stuff. Yeah. So this group, largely funded by advocates for expanding taxpayer-funded private charter schools, which are, again, religious. The conservative-led charter school movement seeks to weaken public education in favor of for-profit private schools, whose leaders can legally exclude any students or topics they disapprove of. So all of this, a lot of this is connected, obviously. Do Republicans want to have more charter schools? Absolutely. Because then people make money off it. Do they also want to eliminate gay and trans people from society using the educational system? Absolutely. So getting rid of not only public education, but fundamentally changing it. It really, goes to further both of those goals. Eliminating public education and eliminating LGBTQ plus people. It's, while having their donors fill their pockets. That's the Republican Party. That's what they want. And they're doing everything they can, not just in Oklahoma, but all over the country, in school boards everywhere where they have gained power. And they will continue to push to have more of that power to continue their agenda.